Hi, I'm here today to talk to you about your teen and how can they stand out as a college applicant in this giant pool of high school seniors or juniors really when you apply for college. So I'm Melanie Studer from Parenting High Schoolers, and again, I'm here to talk about how can your college applicant stand out in a good way for getting into college or really, trade school or a job. There are a lot of ways that they can improve their chances. But for today, we'll focus on college, but a lot of these tips are applicable to those other routes as well. So in the last year, from 2019 to 2020, there was an average jump of 10% that colleges saw in an increase of applicants to college. And so our students need to be aware that the competition is really fierce. It's hard anyway under normal circumstances, but COVID has really thrown sort of a ringer in this and made things, you would think maybe people would choose to do other options. And honestly, I think that kids should be thinking outside the box. Is college the for sure route that they need to go? But with that being said, here are some ways that your teen can make themselves so much more attractive as a college applicant, and they're really easy to do. Acceptance rates are low to a lot of colleges. Now, it depends on that college, and that's one piece of information that your teen and you need to look at as you're searching for a college. So how can your teen stand out in a good way? Well, first of all, your teen needs to take the lead in this. They need to be the front runner, the point person for all of the next steps that I'm going to refer to. As I'm talking to you, the parent, but also have your teen listen to this, because these are steps that your teen needs to take. And obviously you're going to be a team. And there are a lot of things that parents can do to help their teen get into the college of their choice, or even a college they haven't even considered. But here are some ways for your teen to stand out. Once you realize that your teen needs to take the lead in this process, now you need to start the search. So here's some things that I consider important. Well, first of all, it needs to be a conversation. I'm huge on conversations. In fact, follow my channel, subscribe below. I'm here every week talking about ways to improve communication with your teens, helping them out into the real world with some common sense ideas, and I review books, all kinds of things to help you parent your teen. So I would love a subscribe below. And thumbs up, not thumbs down. So start the search, start the conversation. Let your child know, what have you been able to save? What can you afford? And no, this is not an easy conversation, because real life happens, and maybe you haven't saved a ton, maybe you haven't saved any. But they need to know that as they are putting together a college search, this may affect some of the choices that they are making. How big of a college do they want to go to? How far away do they want to go? Do they want a private school or a big state school? One thing that I will say is my son went to a small, very small liberal arts college in the Midwest, and he got a huge scholarship package. Those private schools have money to award. They are looking for students with good resumes, with good all-around package. And believe me, my son did not even have a 3.5 GPA. He was close, but he did not have, and his highest ACT score was, I think, a 28. So he was not a brainiac by any means, but he had a well-rounded resume, and he interviewed well, and he was able to get a huge scholarship package, bigger than the state school that's in our hometown. He went for way less, even though the price started way above that state school price. It came way below to get him to go there. So don't rule anything out. So as your teen and you start this process of looking, they need to think about all those things. What size of a school? How far away do they want to go? And have a conversation with them that, this school that my son ended up at was not anywhere on his radar. It was, it was close to our hometown. It was, I think, 30 minutes away. And it was tiny. And those were two things that he did not think he wanted. So as you guys are having these conversations, don't rule out something just because you think you don't like it. Maybe put a smaller school on the list than you think you want to go to, or a larger one if it's the opposite case. If you think you want to go to a little tiny school, don't rule out the big one. Kind of have a little bit of each as you're looking at websites. Look at the cost of attendance. How far are you going to have to travel? Is that an expense that you're going to need to figure into the equation? All of those things wrapped up, especially the cost, is going to affect how you narrow your list. And that's my next tip, is develop a list of, after massive research on all of your all's parts, narrow the list down to maybe 5 or 6 possibilities. That's what we did with my son. And we went and looked at them. There were 3 state schools and I think 4 smaller, medium-sized private schools. As he went to each one, there were things he liked about each one, but he was able to rule some out. Too far away. This really, when it came down to talking to the admissions office, was going to be too much. He would have had to take really huge loans out. There just a lot of things feed into this decision. So start with a wide net and then narrow it down. Get down to 5 or 6 schools and then have your child show sincere interest. This is the next point. Showing sincere interest is taking the initiative for your teen to reach out to that school. Make a phone call, send an email to the admissions counselor. Usually it's regional, so they might have somebody in the Midwest, they might have somebody in the Southeast, they might have it by state. Get on the website for the college and look. Reach out to that person, not you, the parent, but the teen, and say, hey, I've been doing research. Your school is one of my final choices for applying to. I'm going to graduate in 2023. This is my current GPA. This is my current ACT score. I plan on taking it again. I love this, and this about your school. Can you tell me more? And they start this relationship. And again, my older son was a go-getter, and he did this with a couple of schools, and it became this relationship of, back and forth discussion. And every semester he would send an updated GPA. Every time he took the ACT, if the score improved, he sent that to them. And it's called touch points. Colleges keep track of how often a student is in touch with them. I know that sounds crazy, but they really do. So that if it comes down to the application process and they're looking at 2 equal candidates, well, candidate A just applied and that's all, but candidate B not only applied, but they've been in touch 5 or 6 times. They've asked questions. They visited the campus. We're going to give it to him. We're going to accept this kid. Don't forget that touch points, those conversations, whether they're by email or on phone or however it works, Zoom, these days it could be anything, that they have done their research and they have contacted with a sincere interest. My next tip is to consider early options. This means that your child absolutely knows that somewhere is where they want to go. Your teen will be locked in. So I'm talking to you teens. If you think you know for sure where you want to go, then go ahead and apply early, because a lot of times you'll get more money. It'll eliminate all your other choices. Definitely something to consider. So look on the college's website. When is that early, application? Is it rolling? Is it set in stone? And what steps do you need to take to ensure that you are accepted early? Now, you need to look at what the cost and all of that is. A lot of times there will be a pretty big break if you commit early, because they really colleges want students that want to be there. So definitely have that be part of your plan as a family if your child knows for sure where they want to go. And keep track of the deadline. This really needs to be your teen, but that is a way that moms and dads can support their teen. Deadlines for college applications, deadlines for scholarship applications, deadlines for just keeping up with schoolwork. All of this, maybe you need to have a giant calendar I have one on my refrigerator, a giant magnetic whiteboard that everybody puts all of their stuff on, and it's color coded. I can put a link below to what that looks like and where you can get one. And I highly recommend that you choose a color for each kid and yourself and your significant other. And then if there's something ongoing, like lacrosse practice, which we had all spring. That was in my son's color. But if there were other things, like if there were a college-y sort of event or due date, that was in its own color. Of course, I only have one left at home that is thinking about college, so it wasn't his color because I wanted it to stand out from his normal stuff. So we picked a different color for that. Find a way that works for your family to keep track of all these deadlines, because there will be a lot, especially as they become juniors and seniors. I want to encourage you as a parent to be that cheerleader for your teen, to start this conversation, to be part of the process, but teens have to take point. They are the ones that the colleges really want to hear from. If they are an athlete, coaches don't want to hear from parents. They want to hear from the athlete. This needs to totally be something on your child, but that does not mean you cannot help. Put all these actions in place, make a plan, have a conversation, and good luck.